Serious redditors who have slept with your friend's parents. How did that happen? How was it like with the parent/friend afterwards? Did your friend ever find out? Started going out with a best friend's mother when I was younger. Turned into a 2-year relationship. My friend got used to it eventually, along with the rest of his family. My family hated it. My mom made me move out etc. What was the age gap between you two? 15. 5 years. His parents had just broken up, but for some reason she stayed temporarily while her new BF got an apartment. Saturday night. Bonfire. Drank too much. Stayed up late. 2 AM. Smoking alone and she came out. Nothing weird BC, she is a smoker and a night owl. Stood next to me before asking to sit on my lap. I made eye contact with her and she just started making out with me. Ended up ducking her in my friend's bed while he slept on the couch. I vowed to never speak of it again. Additional info, she was a 7 and the type to wear a Berkrambeishti still at 40 years of age. When I was 18, but still in high school, I had a threesome with a married couple I met online. My first threesome. We had good fun. So I came back over again soon for more of it. After the sexy times had ensued, I glanced up at their living room wall and saw school pictures of a girl I knew. Not exactly friends, but acquaintances, and had been in the school system with since middle school. Dawning realization of horror. It did not stop me from hooking up with them more. It did eventually come up in conversation that I knew their daughter. They weren't too thrown off by it. The mother ran into me at our high school graduation and congratulated me. High school was weird times. I was high and had been drinking. She pretty much took advantage of me. Fast forward a few months and I'm drunk on my fiend sofa. Everyone is in bed and my friend's mum comes into the room and starts trying to kiss me. I'm pretending to be asleep when my friend comes in and goes apeshit. Stuff starts to get thrown around and I leave pretty quickly and call a taxi. That person still hates me to this day. I figured it was easier for me to be the dung than for things to get even more complicated for my friend and their mum by me being honest. I was about 19 at the time and I was training to go into the military, so I would constantly go running in preparation for basic. A few of my friends who were also in the program wanted to join me, so we would frequently meet up during the week to go and quickly became good friends as a result. I met Tiffany at her house one day to help her move some things out of her house because her ship date was getting closer and no one else would help her. That's when I met her, Tiffany's mom. When I first met her I could feel instant attraction towards her, not only because of her looks, but because of her personality. She was getting a stripper pole installed in her house for exercise purposes. So, being 19 at the time and my teenage body vigorously coursing with testosterone, I thought that was the hottest thing ever. The more I was over there, the more I noticed that my constant stares were being returned by her mom. This continued on for a couple of weeks with occasional flirting and subtle advances until my friend's ship date arrived. In order for me to move on to the next part of the story, I have to explain how the whole process of leaving for the military works. So the night before your ship date, they put you up in the nearest hotel closest to MEPS, and the day after you process, swear in and ship out. Her mom wanted to get a room in the same hotel so she could be there for her in the morning, and she invited me to come along with her. Of course I accepted her invitation. We all hung out in Tiffany's mom's room until Tiffany's curfew came and forced her to go and left us alone. We bought a alcohol. Well, she bought us alcohol, and after a few drinks and some not so subtle advances, we had sex. It was the best sex I have ever had to date. After that night we hooked up a few more times, but it ended soon after. I don't think Tiffany ever found out, but I'm not sure. I'm 23 now and haven't really talked to her since. Edit. Sorry on mobile. Mom and daughter. When I was 18 I hung around this cute girl that was new at school for our last year. I would give her rides to and from school because she knew me from a mutual friend before she transferred to my school. I always had a crush on her, but she was pretty far out of my league. It was a friend zone kind of thing, but I didn't really care. Anyway, we were pretty inseparable for a period of time. I would hang out on her front porch and her mom would always come out and talk with us. She was really attractive. Long blonde hair, slender, and had that Essexy raspy voice. I would always joke with her mom in the room about her mom being hot. And since she was recently divorced, so I think she liked the self-esteem boost. Probably a year after we had stopped hanging out so frequently, I asked the girl if she wanted to go to my friend's party that he was having in the middle of a cornfield. She agreed to go with me, and we got a chance to catch up on the way over. I must have been abnormally funny or charming that night because she was laughing at every dumb joke and really flirting with me the whole way over. While we were on a dark country road, she leaned over and kissed me while simultaneously rubbing her hand on my crotch. It caught me off guard as I didn't know she was even into me like that. I pulled over off the side of the road, shut my car off, and made out with her / poked around downstairs. She told me that she wanted to hold off on going further, but we still made out and groped each other throughout the rest of the night. Nothing ever really came of it after that, but we still remained good friends. Fast forward another year and my buddy and I end up at her mom's house because he now had a fling with this girl. She had a couple friends over, guys and girls, but then later on in the night her mom was dropped off from the bar. This was the first time I had seen her mom since I used to come over back in school, and she immediately remembered me and was more than happy to see me. We all swam in their pool, drank and drank some more. Her mom jokingly kissed me on a dare in front of her, and the girl freaked out and pulled her off of me. So after that her mom kept her distance from me for the rest of the night because I think she may have known that she was crossing a line with her daughter. Later on, everyone paced out and my friend went to bed with this girl. I went out on the deck to smoke a cigarette before pacing out, and about 2 minutes later her mom followed me out. Without saying a word to me, she straddled my thigh. She was wearing a sundress, and I could feel that she wasn't wearing any underwear as she straddled my leg. Let's say she was ready to go. She pushed my head into her breasts and began grinding my thigh. Basically after that I did her mom from behind over the balcony and again in her bed. Her daughter doesn't know about it at all to my knowledge, unless my friend told her. Didn't happen again after that. But I never really found myself in that position again either. When I was 17 years old I started sleeping with my, at the time, recent ex-girlfriend's mom. It all started one day when we were hanging out at her house and she asked if I wanted to ride over to her mother's, my ex-girlfriend's grandmother, house to feed her dogs, seeing she was out of town. I agreed, so I got in the driver's seat of the Suburban and started heading to her mother's. While on the way everything seemed normal until she put her hand on my leg. I was caught a little off guard, but we were close, so I didn't really think too much of it. We continued down the road in a void of silence when she slides her hand up to my belt and starts unbuckling it and unbuttoning my pants. Next thing I know, she is out of her seat and on her knees in the floorboard delivering a pretty fantastic blowjob. We get to her mom's and she grabs me and pulls me into her mom's room and pushes me on the bed. At this point I'm pretty freaked out. I'm 17 and this is a lot to take in. Anyways, she goes back with more fellatio, this time taking my pants off as she goes. After a few minutes she took off her pants and crawled up to where she was straddling. As I lay there I'm being flooded with the emotions of excitement, horror, guilt, and pleasure. I protest briefly, but by the time I had a chance to put a sentence together she had already taken me inside of her. We finished up, admittedly not too long after it began, fed the dogs, and went back to her house where I smoked a bowl with her daughter. We didn't talk about it for about a week, but it turned into a semi-regular thing for about a year and a half. Eventually I cut it off because I found a girl that I cared for and she lost her shit on me and we haven't really talked since. Was just getting on hookup websites and seeing the vast amount of men out there who also like men. Ended up ducking my girlfriend's dad. Never told her. Years later, she's the type that'd find it hysterical. Bonus story. She was a lesbian. I was gay. Both of us used each other as covers without realizing. Bonus story. She was a lesbian. I was gay. Both of us used each other as covers without realizing. I wouldn't be surprised if this is common. Even if you'd say you knew it and you were covering for each other, I assume somehow that it happens more often than you think. My friend's mom was in an open relationship with her husband. They were always the cool parents. They were the parents who let us drink at their house when we were all 16 to 17. They taught us the do's and don'ts of getting drunk. They were basically our partying mentors. Anyway, my friend's mom had always told me how cute she thought I was and would joke about how she couldn't wait until I turned 18. I would flirt back occasionally, and one night we did some hand stuff while my friend was sitting 3 feet away. She never found that out. Lol. So the day before my senior year in high school I decided I didn't want to be a virgin anymore. I text her and ask if she wants to hang out. She says sure and picks me up in the family minivan. We drive a little ways away, put the seats down in the back, smoked a bowl, listened to Kid QD, then we ducked. I got the best head I've ever had to this date, and there was no awkwardness afterwards. We even hooked up a couple more times. My friend had always told me, if anything happens between you and my mom, just please don't tell me, which I totally understood. I wouldn't want to hear about any of my friends banging my mom. So 2 years later she finds out, and luckily it hasn't affected our friendship whatsoever. We still joke about it today. Pasted from the last time I answered this question. Obviously a throwaway. I ducked one of my best friend's mom for about a year. Her husband was cool with it and a bit jealous she was doing an 18-year-old, and he wasn't. I'm going to be a bit guarded with details, but she ran a business that involved traveling around parts of the country, and I was employed by her because I was out of school and an employee. Her son never put 2 and 2 together. I would travel with her and stay in hotels with her, so it was THR perfect cover. I don't really know how it started, but she and I hit it off. She asked me once if I wanted a blowjob or to be made love to. She's the only woman that has ever successfully sucked me off to completion. It was ducking wonderful. Most awkward moment was definitely when she said that's where Johnny came from, as I stuck it in her box. It's been almost 20 years now. You know that saying about older women really knowing what they are doing? Totally ducking true. Me and at least 5 more of my friends that I'm sure of use to bone out our friend's mom on the reg when we were about 16. It seemed really cool at the time, but in hindsight she was a legit predator. She supplied our alcohol and a place to drink it, waited for her son to pass out, then let us basically do all the things every 16 years old wants to do, but never get the chance. It got really creepy. She got angry at our girlfriends and all that stereotypical predatory mom jazz. We collectively decided to stop boning her about a year later. I'm certain my friend, her son, knew, but he refused to acknowledge it whatsoever. We are also no longer friends. I was probably 16 or 17 when it happened. I'm 42 now, so it was a long time ago. Was good friends with a guy from about 8th grade or so. He was being raised by his mom, an attractive nurse who I would guess was about 35 to 38 years old at the time. All the guys would comment about how good looking his mom was, and he would do the typical "I'll kick your," as if you look at my mom again shty. We all looked anyway. She was not a supermodel or anything, but compared to our mom she was Cindy ducking Crawford. Anyway, a few of us would sleep over his house regularly. He had a pool table in the basement, Nintendo system, and a lot of cool shit, and his mom was really laid back, so she would let us stay up till all hours of the night. She would even let us have a few beers and would drink with us sometimes. Pretty cool environment for a 16-year-old kid. I went to his house after school one day to pick him up. He was not there, but she invited me in to hang out. It was like 4 in the afternoon. I go in and sit in the kitchen. She tells me that his dad came to pick him up and he won't be home till later that night. She immediately starts coming on to me, telling me about how cute I am and that she hoped we'd have some time alone. B/C she has wanted to get me into bed for a long time now. Says that she has not had a man in a long time and that she's so lonely. Yatta yatta yatta. I was in my ducking glory, but played it cool. As cool as a teenage boy can play it, I guess. I try to play hard to get, and that I was afraid and unsure if we should do it. She guides me into the living room and sits me down on the couch. Blowjob from heaven ensues. I swear I heard angels singing. Being a teenage boy, I'm immediately ready to go again, and we bang for the next few hours, until I have to leave. It was amazing, and after it was done my head was swimming. Next time I saw her was maybe 3 days later. She never gave anyone any clue as to what happened. But when no one was looking she would shoot me these playful looks and smiles. We banged a few more times, but no one ever found out, that I know of. I grew apart from her and her son during college. But I will never forget that time in my life. It was so wrong, but my god, it was amazing. Like this video and this good boy will be your mailman forever. We are Redditation, and we redditate every day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a wonderful day you magnificent people.